No.
Blooper.
Welcome to Woodshop 101, where everything is made up and the points don't matter. Now meet the yin and yang of woodworking and the lady that keeps them in line, Jeremy, Drew, and Sam.
Hey guys, welcome to episode number 51. Tonight we're going to talk about how to buy hardwood from a hardwood dealer and how not to sound like an idiot at the yard like I tend to do. Tonight I am joined by my two co-hosts, Jeremy Crawford and Sam Raimondi. How you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm ready to sound like an idiot.
I'm pretty scared of this topic, like, I'm not gonna lie.
It's okay. I remember the first time I even went to a hardwood dealer, I was just like a fish out of water.
I mean, some of us got to go buy stuff. We don't get it for free. Sam.
What? I don't get things for free. Get out of here.
Do you really?
I drive to my local Home Depot, buy wood, actually spend like an hour searching through all the wood, thinking I'll find a perfect piece. Don't find a perfect piece, and I'm like, screw it, and bring it home anyway. That's how this works on this end.
I don't think so. and I'm gonna prove you wrong.
Oh Lord, he's gonna do some research.
I am. So, where did you've never gotten free wood, free lumber ever?
Oh Lord, I remember this.
Okay. This isn't fair because, I know what you're referring to. This isn't fair. Okay, preface. Let's give everybody a little backstory. There was a company that unfortunately went out of business, and they couldn't take everything with them, and found out somehow, because I guess they're stalkers, that I'm a woodworker in the area and offered to give me whatever I could take. I obviously said yes, but that doesn't mean I asked the company for free wood.
I didn't say that. I just said you got.
No.
I just said you got free. I just said you got free lumber.
I did. You're right. Okay, fine. Backtrack. I did. I haven't used it yet.
So we got to learn the terminology to go ask.
Sam just says, "Hey, you gonna use that?" No, go ahead, take it.
I mean, wait. To be fair, like, pallets are free wood. So.
Oh, that's cheating.
What do you mean that's cheating? I'm sure you guys got free pallets once in your life.
Well, I take the ones that are authorized to take. You take the ones that are tracked. And
I didn't know until I was part of the podcast I was breaking the law. Like, I'm seriously scared that there are going to be warrants out for my arrest now because I admitted things on air.
Okay. We all broke the bad news to you that Sam's leaving the podcast. The real reason she's leaving the podcast is she's going to jail for stealing pallets.
Guys, that was confidential. Like, you would be a really bad therapist. I'm just saying.
Have you heard of the Orange is the New Black? Well, she's going to be...
She's a new character.
Yeah, she's going to be the new character.
I wouldn't hate it. Like, I really like that show. I binge-watched the whole last season.
She's got to change her name, though. It's going to be Candy.
I think I'm more of just like SPK for Sour Patch Kids. Like, that's it.
Did you watch? You just watched the fourth season that just came out like a month ago?
Dude, I watched it in like, I'm not like, no shame, I watched it in like 3 days.
It's pretty good. It's a funny show. Sure, you should watch
it's awesome.
Funny show, yeah. My wife has watched it before. She's given me some insight.
It's pretty funny. In fact,
instead of 2 recommendations, my recommendation for the day is to watch Orange is the New Black.
You know what? I'm just gonna start calling you Piper.
I'll take it.
You remind me of Piper.
Okay, but like, part of that's annoying because this season she was kind of annoying. But okay, like, fine, I'll take it anyway.
This season? How about season 3? She was annoying.
What? Did you call me Piper because you think this girl's annoying?
No, just your personality is like
this guy.
Yeah, it is so Piper personality. But
I don't know if I'm offended or flattered, but thank you and no thank you.
Okay, let's...
and on that note...
Let's get back on topic here.
This must be a short episode, and we're talking for 10 minutes about Orange is the New Black. Let's get back on topic.
Yeah, before she, like, flies down here and shanks me.
Yeah.
You're done.
Was off on another tangent. Okay.
Make sure she's not
well, know your surroundings, Jeremy. You're home alone, remember. Okay,
Hey,
this topic.
Watch that door.
Okay, the topic is how to buy hardwood from a hardwood dealer, and basically the terminology you are going to come in contact with, and how not to sound like an idiot at the yard. Unfortunately, I did not have this kind of insight when I first went to the lumber yard. I have a hardwood dealer that's in my area, and regular lumber yards here in the Oklahoma are not as I guess they don't use the terminology. It's just like, I want that one. And just put it in the truck. But I went to Phoenix Hardwoods here in Oklahoma City, and they have all kinds of terminology. That I was just walking around with the guy, and I said, well, this kind of looks nice. You know, what's the price? And he said, well, how many board feet you want? I was like, 5? I don't know. I had no clue. And then they had the terminology of, well, do you want 4/4? Do you want 6/4? 8/4? I was like, well, no, I want the whole board. I don't want 1/4 of it. I want the whole board. So knowing what kind of terms you're going to come in contact with at a hardwood dealer, it just gets you better prepared to buy and make a more informed choice and selection on what you take home. Going back to some of the terms, like the 4/4 and 6/4 and 8/4, basically what they're referring to there is basically the thickness of the stock, and they just refer to it in fractions. Like, you have 1/4 inch thick, 1/2 inch thick, 3/4 inch thick. When you reach 1 inch, they call it 4/4 because 4 over 4 is 1. Then you can do 5/4, 6/4. Then they go up to 8/4. So that's like 2 inches thick. So those things will help you decide on your thickness, but also remember how thick your wood is will also determine or help determine your board feet overall that you're going to buy. And they make board feet calculators as well, as basically just taking the width, the length, and the thickness, and I believe that's all multiplied together. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's the length times the thickness times the width, and that gives you your board feet. So and you also have to convert. You have to convert all to inches, I believe, too. Yeah, or you can just get a calculator.
And then there's a formula too. A board foot calculator has that whole formula in it to help make the conversion, so you don't have to convert into inches and then reconvert it into feet.
The width and the length is in inches, and I'm saying that because I'm pulling it up on the calculator. It is converted into inches, and that pulls it out into how many board feet it would be. So if you have an Apple device like an iPhone, I would highly recommend downloading the Woodshop widget. Super simple. You can put in like the thickness of the board, but you got to put it in by quarters. So that's why we're saying you need to know your quarter. Then your width and your length, and it'll tell you how many board feet. But then you can also go down here and type in how much it is per board foot, and how many, the quantity you want of board feet, and then it will tell you the total that you are going to pay. So if you get something wacky that's like $13.99 a board foot, then it'll tell you exactly what you're going to pay for it.
And also what helps determine the price per board foot is also how the wood is milled. There are 3 different ways to mill a piece of wood. Some yield better results than others when it's milled at the lumber mill. And there's flat sawn, rift sawn, and quarter sawn. And I know you guys have probably heard quarter sawn quite often. Well, unfortunately, it is the most expensive type of mill that you can buy in a piece of stock. But it's also the most stable because it just does not move the way, say, flat sawn would. But you have to determine that by looking at the end grain of the stock that you are trying to select. So if you are wanting quarter sawn pieces of wood, you would just basically look at the end grain of the wood, and if the grain is running basically up and down the thickness of the board that is typically a quarter sawn piece of wood. And now if it's running at an angle, say 45 degrees, that is your rift sawn. It's not quite as stable as quarter sawn, but it is still a pretty nice way to mill a piece of wood. It's still pretty stable. Flat sawn is pretty typical of what you would find at, say, Home Depot or Lowe's. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's a little more affordable. But if you buy it at a big box store, you are going to pay a little bit more for it. So you get a little bit cheaper discount at a hardwood dealer, but the wood is not exactly as stable as you'd like. The grain, whenever you look at a flat sawn, will run basically the width of the board from one edge to one edge. It won't be going up and down or at an angle. So swelling of wood tends to go in the direction of the grain. So you can guess by seeing the grain running the width of the board, then that piece of wood is going to swell pretty significantly versus a quarter sawn piece. So just keep that in mind whenever you are selecting your stock on how it is milled versus the price per board foot. Jeremy, what else can you add? Because I know that you have gone shopping at hardwood dealers before. So what other some terminology can you offer?
So knowing your quarters is a big deal, and the quarters are based off of a rough dimension. So if you go in there and you say, I want a 4/4 board, but I want it pre-milled, meaning you're going to buy, your lumber that's already been milled on all four sides. It won't be 4/4. It won't be that full 1 inch. It will actually be slightly less, and it could be all the way down to 3/4 of an inch. But you wouldn't call that board a 3/4. It would be still considered a 4/4 because it was the full 1 inch prior to being milled. And most hardwood dealers, if they stock milled lumber already, they change it back to dimensional. So like the one I went to in Houston, you spoke in quarters for rough milled or rough lumber. Pre-milled stuff you talked in dimensionals. So it was 1x6, 1x8. The same thing you would get at Home Depot or Lowe's or Menards or anything like that. Another thing you want to get into is now if you're wanting to buy lumber and you don't want to buy it in the rough state, you want to buy it somewhat milled. There's different terminologies for the different states of the milling process. You have what's called S2S, then you have S4S, or you'll hear like S2S, 2E. And so S2S, 2E, and S4S is essentially the same thing. It's just a different way of saying it. And Sam, so you can chime in here. S2S means what?
Okay, wait. So S2S we were just talking about this.
Yes.
It's surfaced on two sides.
Yeah. So the S's mean surfaced and sides. So it'd be S2S, surfaced two sides, or surfaced four sides.
Right.
And then your 2E is simply that. It's surfaced on two sides and on two edges. So that's you got to know when you go in there. You're going to ask, I want a 4/4 board. I want a 4/4 6-inch wide piece of red oak, but I want it S2S or S3S, and that would just be surfaced on three sides, meaning you have one straight edge, and then your top and your bottom are surfaced as well, and that way it will essentially yield you a little bit wider stock. So if you want a 6-inch wide board and you buy a like an S3S or an S2S 1E, it's going to leave you that rough side, and that board's going to be just a little bit wider, because again, those dimensions are based off of rough stock. So you tell them I want a 6-inch wide board on rough stock, it's going to be 6 inches wide, or slightly over. But once it's milled, you're really going to get down into anywhere between 1/4 and 3/4 of an inch off of that measurement. And the wider you go, you typically take more away. So like a 2x10 is really like 1.5 inches thick, and it's going to be 9 1/4 inches wide. So versus like a 1x4 or a 2x4, it's it's 3.5 inches wide, or is it 3 1/4?
Wait, say that again.
A 2x4 is what milled? I can't remember.
Oh,
is it 3 1/4?
It's 1.5 by 3 1/4. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And that's your typical stock, is like it'll be roughly that 3/4 inch of a difference. But you buying it from a lumber yard, you'll see anywhere between 1/4 and 3/4 inch off of that number. So if you need a 6-inch wide board but you want it milled, then you need to tell them, I need an 8-inch wide board. I need that way after it's milled, you're gonna have your full 6 inches that you need. A lot of people, they go to build these like farmhouse dining room tables and things like that, and they're like, oh, I need it 40 inches wide, so I'm going to go buy 4 2x10s. Well, that's not going to yield you your 4 40 inches. You're going to be short by a few inches. You actually got to buy over that and cut it down. So,
if there's one thing I've learned in woodworking, is that you always need to overbuy. Whatever your measurements are, you need to overbuy by at least a plank. And keep in mind that the terminology we're throwing out, the S2S, S4S, those are things that you are having that company perform for you as well. So that could also knock the price up a little bit more. So if you're trying to go in on a budget, but still trying to get as much or as nice of wood as possible, just keep in mind that if you request these certain things to happen with the stock that you're going to buy, you're going to end up paying for it. We had a viewer last week that sent us a question saying, was this reasonable to be charged over and above what the original quote was? Because of the time crunch that I was under, I wanted this done to it. And unfortunately, it was just kind of a little bit of a shock whenever the sticker price came through. So if you do want to go in on a budget and get some nice wood, but don't mind the labor that accompanies what's going to entail when you get it home, is buying stock in the rough. And that's basically just where it's milled off the log and you just throw it in your truck, basically. I mean, the edges aren't straight line. They're not smooth. They're not sanded. It was, just cut with a mill and just shoved into your truck.
Yeah, pretty much. It will have been either air dried or kiln dried most of the time. But yeah, some lumber yards, like the one I went to, stocked milled lumber already, but there was a price difference on that milled lumber. Now, it wasn't as dramatic as if they were to mill it custom for you, but it was still a markup, because they have to be able to pay their workers the extra labor that goes into milling that. So yeah, be prepared for it to be a little bit higher. And we put it in here, how not to sound like an idiot. You're not going to sound like an idiot. You go in there and start spitting off stuff. Don't go in there and try to play a game. Don't go in there and start trying to spit off things that if you don't know, the terminology, don't try to spit it off. Go in there and tell them what you know. Hey, I need a board that's like 6 inches wide and, 1.5 inches thick. I guarantee you're not the first person that's gone in there that doesn't know. And most lumber yards are well versed that they're going to speak either language. You need 1.5 inches, you need a 2x4. You go in there and tell them I need 2x4, and they will show you what the comparable stock. So you may think you sound like an idiot, but you really won't. What's up?
Yeah, I was just going to add to that, because that was going to be my wrap-up point here. Is there are a lot of words and things being spit out in this episode of the podcast, and I can just imagine people like writing things down really fast. But like, really don't worry about it. The first time I ever went to a lumber yard, I was definitely nervous because I didn't know like what to ask for. But what I did is I had a sketch of what I wanted to do with the dimensions, brought it to the guy. I said, look, this is my first time here. I'm not entirely sure like how to ask for what I need, but these are the dimensions. And he was so helpful. So don't feel like you're going to go in there and need to like spit out like rapid fire all of these terms. Just if you really need some help, just ask. Like that's why they're there, and they understand, and they're there to help you make your vision come to life. So don't feel afraid to go in there a little clueless. It's okay too.
Yeah, and these people aren't car salesmen. There's no hidden costs. They have a price chart that they go off of whatever stock that they carry, and once the board feet are figured out on the stock that you like, you just say, I want this one, this looks great, this will match, I need so many of these, what's the board feet equivalent out to? If you know how it is, how it's milled, if it's flat sawn, quarter sawn, rift sawn, you can know that just by looking at the end grain. That's not hard. And they will figure out the board feet. They go to their price chart. You can see that how it's milled compared to the price that they're quoting you, and it's generally spot on. These guys are not crooks. I mean, they go by what they're set to go by. So don't feel like they're going to take advantage of you if you don't know what you're talking about at all. Because we have walked in there many times and not known any terminology.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's your lumber prices is like gas prices. It's regionalized and it's comparable. So walnut in my area, I go to any of the lumber yards, is going to be pretty comparable. And if it's not, then that lumber yard's just being ridiculous. It's like going to fill up for gas and everybody's asking $1.73, and you go down the road and they're asking $1.89. They're going to lose more business. And I bring that up because that literally just happened to me yesterday.
I wish that gas was $1.79 by me. Like gas is so expensive by me.
Gas is $1.73 here, but I went to fill up at another station. It was $1.89. I said nope. Put $10 in it to get me to the next station. I went back $1.73. But back to the point is like it's comparable. So don't think that maybe they're jacking up the price. You're still $1.68.
Yeah.
Guys, it's $2.23 here.
Yeah, but your car takes like a gallon and a half.
Yeah, it costs like $13 to fill up my car.
Yeah, it costs. Drew, how much does it cost to fill up your truck?
Well, I just filled it up today, and it was $67.
So I filled up yesterday, and it cost me $40, I think. But you have a 35-gallon tank on that truck, though, don't you?
Yeah, I got a 35-gallon tank, and I went all the way down to I have 11 miles left to go on the tank.
Oh no!
So I was on my last gallon.
That's why I had to stop and fill up at $1.89 because mine said 0, and I was like, we need to stop now. So anyway, kind of wrap it up. We're kind of spitballing the terms out to you, so you kind of have an idea when they start talking and they say quarters, and you kind of have an idea. But you're never really going to learn it until you get in there and you walk around and you ask questions. It's just it's trial by fire. You go in there and you kind of learn. And they're used to it. You're not the first person that's done it. You're not going to be the last. So don't be scared of walking in and kind of just figuring it out. So
it should be fun.
Yeah. And if there were just two things that you could take away from this that you could prepare yourself to go to a hardwood dealer, is to go out into your shop, look at the wood that you might have, or go to Lowe's, Home Depot, whatever. Look at the wood that they have, check out the end grain, and identify the milling process of each one of those pieces. And then just start memorizing what the 4/4, 6/4, 8/4, what those signify. And you can pretty well arm yourself pretty decently to go to a hardwood dealer and not sound or feel inferior when you go.
Yeah. Absolutely. And if you go to the show notes for this episode, we'll put an infographic of your flat sawn, rift sawn, and quarter sawn, and kind of how it's cut by a tree. That way, as we're talking about this, you can actually see a picture and actually get what we're talking about. So, all right, you have anything else? Sam?
I'm good.
You're over there like smiling like you got something to say.
No, it's so funny. Like, I feel like when you're in college and you study for a test and you have to study all these different definitions, like that's how I feel right now. But no, I'm glad we did this topic because, like I said, the first time I went to a mill, I just kind of was like, I want to make this. Can you help me? And they were like, sure. So there's a lot of information, but I'm glad we went over it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there's a folder I've been told that has topic ideas that we can check out and add to. Yeah, I didn't even know about it.
Well, Drew, you can. I mean, any topic ideas that Sam puts in there, who's going to talk about them in 2 weeks?
I thought it was four weeks. No, now it's 3 weeks.
Well, by the time they're listening to this, it's 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah. Well,
guys, don't worry. I'm going to put topics like, what's your favorite flavor Sour Patch Kid?
Look, I just want to put this out there, Drew. She has access to everything, and there's no way to... I don't know of any way to revoke her access.
Oh, you guys are screwed.
We're going to be on the show, and she'll be playing with the show notes, and we're like,
I'm immediately going to text her and be like, you're supposed to be studying or working or something. You can't be hanging out at the show.
If you can miss the show notes...
Jeremy's gonna work super hard on show notes and then I go to it before a show and be like, what the hell? I didn't ask about Sour Patch Kids in this episode.
Product
speaking.
Recommendations, yeah.
Sam's product recommendation. What? She's not even on the show. Why do we need to say this?
Sour Patch Kids.
A 5-pound bag?
Okay, that might be my last product recommendation, like just pre-warning you.
I might go buy a bag just to eat during the last show.
I'd be so jealous unless you send me a bag beforehand.
No, because
we'll all have to eat.
I already sent you stuff that you were supposed to create a project with and you haven't done.
Guys, it's really hard. It's really hard working 4 jobs and trying to be a blogger. It just doesn't work out really well.
Besides, sending her rubber bands and a tube sock is not enough to get a project.
No, he sent me some epic tape. He sent me some Batman tape, some Superman tape. Although, I probably should have thrown the Superman tape out because Batman trumps. But I should do something.
Batman had to cheat to beat Superman.
Oh, just stop.
Do we really need to go through this movie?
Just tell yourself what you need to tell yourself. It's fine.
Yeah, Batman had to cheat. In fact, I know it so well. I bought 2 copies of the movie.
Wow.
I don't know why, but I'm going to take one of them back now because I realized I already had it.
And on the next episode of Woodshop 101, comic politics.
Well, it's better than talking about the other kind of politics.
Well, guys, if you enjoyed the show, we encourage you to get in contact with us to give us some more topic ideas and suggestions. We each have contact pages on our websites, DIYHuntress.com, RHWoodshop.com, and CountrysideWorkshop.com. Also, you can get in contact with the podcast for all 3 of us at one time at woodshop101podcast@gmail.com. Also, the website, woodshop101podcast.com/listen. You'll be able to stream all the episodes on any device, mobile or computer. And if you want to hear your voice on air with a question or just give us a huge shout out, which we love to hear, you can call our voicemail, which is 409-234-3959. So, guys, that pretty much wraps it up. I really enjoyed this episode. It gave a lot of good information to everybody, and it made me feel better about myself knowing that I still got it.
Brush it off.
Yeah, just pop the collar. So from Jeremy, Sam, and myself, we want to wish you guys well. Please be safe in your shops. We hope to hear from you on the next episode. So we will talk to you next week. 1, 2, 3.
Boom.
Superman rules.